combustion ban. This is with the ban of combustion engines. How can I say it? They pulled a real particular prank on our economy. It brings nothing. Yeah, CO2 emission avoidance lower than 1%, but it damages it will damage and threatens the existence of one of the most important and innovative branches of European industry, the automotive industry. In Germany, right now, it is cheaper to refuel your combustion engine than to charge your electric car. My claim to our topic of today is that Green Deal is preventing growth and innovation in Europe, and even worse, it's causing our economy to shrink, and above all, it is causing our industry to migrate. I have 3 clusters of evidence to prove that claim. The first cluster is Green Deal leads to an increase in energy prices, and it destroys the competitiveness of our companies by doing so. This is very closely related with the emission trade scheme, emission trade system ETS1 and in future ETS2, and CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism. I will talk about, and of course, that stupid combustion engine ban. The second cluster of evidence to prove my claim will be that Green Deal and energy transition are preventing a stable energy supply in Europe. This will not only destroy our competitiveness, but also makes innovation in core areas impossible. And the third and shortest part in the end will be, I will talk about the EU and its promise that we will receive autonomy through the energy transition. Let's go first. Cluster of evidence: Green Deal leads to an increase in energy prices and destroys competitiveness of our companies. I think in this audience I do not have to explain what the emission trade system is. 9,000 biggest industrial companies, energy intensive companies, industrial plants throughout Europe are involved with that. They have to buy emission when they emit CO2 emissions. They have to buy emission certificates to compensate that. The problem is the price of those certificates. I don't know if you had the chance to oversee the price over the last few years, but the price for the emission of 1 ton of CO2 in the year 2017 was about €5. You want to guess what the price is right now? €80. If we would have we don't have, I know. If we would have the chance to show charts, it would look like this. It was very low and is now very high. 2 years ago, in 2022, it was even €100 per ton. So this is the reason why this is the real reason, not any war or something like that. This is the real reason why energy prices are at that level that we have right now. And in addition to this 16-folded price over the last 7 years, 16-folded from 5 to €80. In addition to that, there are national CO2 prices in the EU which vary greatly. For example, in Sweden, it's €118 per ton. In Poland, it's €1 per ton. In my home country, Austria, and in Germany, it's €55 per ton. Outside EU exist CO2 prices too. In Japan, Mexico, South Africa, Chile, and Canada, there is no nationwide CO2 tax in the United States under the Biden administration, and it's sure there will be none under the Trump administration. So this clearly shows that energy-intensive industrial companies in particular are being penalized twice by emission trade system. It increases energy prices, and company will have to buy certificates at auctions. And this is a massive competitive disadvantage compared to the rest of the world. And energy intensive, such as chemical industry, are perfected. One is the enormous price increase of fertilizers from 2021 to January 2022. The price of fertilizers was tripled. Yeah, all due that rise in energy prices. This is first thing. Then that system will be expanded to include buildings and mobility. We call this two. This will be implemented in 2027, and when it starts, then there will be, as we know right now, an increase in prices for fuels for mobility and buildings. We expect that. Yeah, these are the expected. So also goes in the wrong direction. The expected prices. So, according to a study by the Mercator Institute, price of natural gas, for example, will increase by a factor of more than 3 for private households. So if anybody of you had thought that inflation will stop, no, it will not stop due to Green Deal policy. The next increase in prices is right knocking at our doors in the next 2 years. When you talk emission trade system, you sure have to talk about CBAM. CBAM, carbon adjustment mechanism, shortly explained, is the ineffectual to counteract the so-called carbon leakage of European industrial third countries with CO2 import duties. CBAM is only intended to make the import of products with a poor emission balance more expensive. The problem, import duties will not improve competitiveness of our export-oriented companies. On the contrary, there are corresponding reactions from our trading partners. And right now, the carbon border adjustment mechanism is already the biggest stumbling block in the current negotiations on a trade agreement between the European Union and India. India is not willing to accept tariffs, additional tariff, a trade agreement. So the EU's climate policy is really effectively down domestic companies from competing in one of the world's largest markets and paving the way for foreign competitors, of course. And last in this first cluster of evidence, combustion ban. This is with the ban of combustion engines. How can I say it? The EU pulled real rank on our economy. It brings nothing. Yeah, CO2 emission avoidance 1%, but it threatens the existence of one of the most important and innovative branches of European industry, the automotive industry. Germany, it is to refuel your combustion engine than to charge your electric car. Yeah, and this will even get worse in the future. So this is the first and I believe the most important cluster of evidence why green our economy. Second cluster, Green Deal, energy transition are preventing a stable energy supply in Europe. This not only destroys competitiveness but also makes innovation in core areas absolutely impossible. We will have power shortages and interruptions of the power supply. Just remember what happened end of November, beginning of December last year. That dark doldrum in Germany demonstrated us what will happen and what the price of electricity in Germany increased tenfold. Increased a record of 936 euro per megawatt hours. And a quarter of electricity has to be important. Steelworks had to close down, price of electricity for household exploded, but it also had massive impacts on the neighboring countries. We all remember the Swedish vice prime minister who declared she was furious with the Germans about their energy policy. And in addition, there is a great fear and a great possibility of blackouts. The risk of blackouts is really increasing. We had the last major blackout because of the volatility of renewable energies in June 24, when there was a short circuit in Albania, and within 2 minutes, blackout had spread as far as Croatia. Yeah? We didn't realize this here, but in that region it was a major problem. This is first thing. Second thing, energy industries in future sectors. Chemical industry is particularly very energy intensive and of course particularly vulnerable to high energy prices and insecure energy supplies. And the topic for the future, the increasing use of artificial intelligence, is leading to a huge increase of power consumption. Artificial intelligence requires an extremely large amount of power, both during training and use. And a request to ChatGPT, for example, consumes 3 or 4 times as much power as a Google request. Data centers right now consume 4 to 5% of global energy consumption, and an increase to around 30% is predicted. Yeah? So where should that energy come from? Cannot come from a volatile solar or wind energy power plants. Yeah? And third on that, EU taxonomy. EU considers investments in fossil fuels to be unsustainable, and this makes innovations in these areas massively more difficult. And now I come to the end. I'm happy about that. Autonomy. Just 3 sentences. The EU promises autonomy through energy transition. This is a myth. That's not true. Of course not true. Copper, lithium, platinum, cobalt, rare earths are needed for that energy transition. Although all these are not short in supply, China is the main exporter. So we may become less dependent on oil and gas importers, but we are becoming more dependent on other countries, especially on China. So the dependencies are only shifting. Yeah? We will be not more autonomous, but we will be more depending on China.
Thank you very much.